Hello everyone, just wanted to talk you through my day yesterday because I lost three trades in a row, stopping me out, hitting my day stop, which a lot of people won't really talk about. And I don't really want to just brush over this in kind of a quick manner because I feel it's a really important matter. And a lot of things like this will be kind of gone unsaid within the community and such because a lot of people are kind of ashamed to talk about it. But it's very, very professional thing to have a day stop in place and to be really going through and having these hard rules in place to make sure you don't lose a certain amount of money. And what I wanted to do today was actually break down the three trades I took in detail, why I took them, how they ended up in losers, maybe some improvements I could make, but also just again kind of rectifying the point of how important it is to have a day stop in place, in my opinion, and how it kind of saved me on this day, but the reasons also as to why I took these trades. So to begin with, the first trade I took yesterday on the 15-minute chart was a swing failure pattern trade. So basically, a bit for understanding context a little bit, and we'll be going over the XO chart side of things as well here. For context side of things, if I just make sure this is all good. Yeah, for context side of things, we had this low here, okay? Just make this white real quick. And I traded this swing failure pattern here, and I'm going to talk you through the order flow of it. I was simply looking because, yeah, for context, there was a high hit rate level coming in above these highs here, above here. Also there was a poor high up here. At the time, I was looking for this to be cleaned up to hit this zone, to be honest with you. So I was looking to essentially have this sort of setup where I was looking to long invalidation below the low and target that region at the very least. Obviously, so let's just go to the order flow very quickly. And at that very level, so this is that low, I believe it is there, right? Yep, that's low here. So let's just mark it out very quickly. This is that low. And what happened was a really textbook low for me. And I will take this trades 100 times, 1,000 times if needs be, because I know over the long term it pays off for me. So listen carefully when I go over this. Essentially, you can see here that we've got first of all, it's a simple swing failure pattern. Second of all, we've got a trap value area where we've closed outside of the value. The point of control of the candle is near the low. You've had then a spike in volume, okay, 17, 18 million essentially. You've had a few liquidations, not significant, didn't jot this down because it's not over 30,000, which is generally what I like to see on the inverse for myself. You did see extended negative delta, okay, so you saw essentially, look at the delta here, minus 6.7 million to the lows. The final delta ended on positive delta, which is extended delta towards the downside, which is really good for seeing trapped traders in confluence with the trapped value area. So you've obviously got that set up. I simply longed, posted about it, and I got stopped out. Simple as, there's a lot of reasons as to this is really, really for me a textbook setup. Like I will stress this to you now. Just because I lost this trade didn't mean I did anything wrong, and I really want to, I posted a bit of a mind map about this on Twitter, which I can maybe get up now. Let me try to get that up for you. So I posted this on Twitter yesterday about just focusing on the input process. This is like kind of the mind map I had beforehand, and it was like, okay, this is what happened in my brain. So it was like, is this, have I done my daily report card? The answer was yes. It fell all the way down to, is this an SFP? The answer was then yes. And then I checked for the following, and part of that following was just looking for delta, volume, extended delta in that extent, spike in volume, trap value area, POC near the low, point of control near the low. And obviously actually we had this, we had these T-size divergences here, which again, I will cover at a later date. But obviously again, I got stopped out of that trade fairly quickly, so I didn't have to fuss about that too much. Let's move on to the next one, because I think this one's also going to be quite important. So the next trade I ended up taking was this low here, again, falling down the bracket in the sense of looking at that kind of mind map diagram I had created, showing that it was a swing failure pattern of this low here. Why am I interested in this low though, by the way? Well, if you look carefully, if we just highlight all of this information here, below this, we've got a gap in price action to the next swing low. So I'm thinking if we lose this, we're heading towards the next swing low. Obviously, this didn't happen, but focus on the concept for now. We swing failure pattern the low, and again, let's go over to the order flow quickly. Because you swing failure pattern the low, there was no trap value area, but there was extended delta, quite significant extended delta. And I believe I did mark this down, and obviously had a spike in volume at the key level of interest, being that low before the gap in price action. You had these T-size divergences, which is really quite good. Did really good T-size divergences here, especially in comparison to the other ones as well. The only thing you didn't have was the POC near the low and trap value area. This doesn't mean I'm not going to take a trade. It just means, I'm going to place a little bit less risk on it, or whatever it may be in that scenario. But of course, this was still a decent opportunity, hence why I've taken it. And I would take this again. This was probably the only one where I probably could have done a bit better on, if I'm honest with you. There were a lot of factors which did contribute to me taking the trade, which was look at the volume again, compare it to the last 30 candles. Look at the delta, minus 5.1 million. And we had actually a decent amount of liquidations, 27,000. okay, with the T size divergence. The only thing that was missing in this case was actually the value area being trapped with the POC near the low, and that could have fell into my own hands. Now, I got stopped on that because I generally do use hard stops at the end of the day. I then got stopped on that, and I re-entered again here. Now, why did I re-enter this one? Okay, the reason I actually re-entered this one here was because you actually had a, what was the word, a London low swing failure pattern. So basically, London session ended, okay, London session ended here, for me at least, and this was like the first swing failure pattern of London low. Very kind of textbook setup for me that I've taken many times. I've got hard stats on this, and it just so happened that the stars aligned that all of these trades ended up being losers. You had a swing failure pattern in this case again, where you had a spike in volume, extended delta. Even look, the final delta was minus 4 million, but this is like 2x that, right? You had 2x the negative delta, right? With liquidations, significant liquidations, and a volume spike. Again, no trap value area, no POC, which I should be noting down. And I do prioritize those type of trades where you do get a trap value area and a POC near the low. Now this hard stop, and actually I placed my stop, didn't actually place it directly below the low, it was slightly above that low, which obviously then got stopped out. And actually, just to be very open and transparent with you, this is where the move actually then accelerated all the way to the upside to where we are today. Now, does all of this mean I'm a bad trader? Not necessarily by any means. Actually a very good track record. But the actually important thing to note here is that my day stop got here. I stuck by the rules, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every trade I take is a winner, and that not showing you my, not showing you my losers, because I think that's actually, that's not real at the end of the day, in my opinion. I lose trades. I have days where I get stopped out on my day stop, and it's just about how I manage that, which actually makes me like really good at the end of the day, in my opinion. By managing the way I manage my risks. So hopefully this made a bit of sense to you. Again, I know it's not the longest of videos, but I've gone through those 3 trades, gone through why I really had that day stop, because otherwise, even if I did end up longing, someone mentioned it in the tweet, was like, this next low looks good. And even if I did think that, there's no point me having rules if I'm not going to stick by them. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall short. They have these rules, but, their emotions kind of take over and they don't end up sticking by them. Even if I did like the next low, my day stop's been hit. I'm not trading until the next day now. I'm going to reevaluate the situation and go from there. Without this could have, let's say I did like this low and it ended up losing, and I thought again, and I lost, and I lost, and I lost. That can end up into a spiral of multiple downwards days. I ended up losing 3R this day, so minus 3R. But the next day, I think from all my previous trade breakdowns, I've had many trades which end up being 3, 4 plus R, or whatever it may be, that end up making up for it. I said this before, again, another tweet, it's like, if your days where you win like 2,000, you win 2,000, and you have a day where you lose 10,000, then you're not managing your risk correctly, and you should be doing something about that. And I think adding a day stop in place is one of the things that you should be doing about it to actually resolve the issue. Put action into place now and add a day stop into your trading. Whether that be 3%, 4%, 3.5% is a generally good amount, in my opinion, to be adding in terms of like a day stop in place, and go from there. In addition to that, I'd also highly recommend you add like a mind map to things. Think about your input process that I've gone through many times before. But yes, add a day stop in place, and I hopefully you enjoyed this video.